Planeswalkers, Mithras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome, my friends. Today's episode, we are doing a tier list today. It is one of my favorite days, and we're doing two. We're doing the best of one and best of three in standard today. So excited about what we have going on. Appreciate you tuning in. So we'll dive down to the details where we will talk about both the best of one and the best of three tier list. So I'll give you that here today. Then we're going to go ahead and talk about some key observations and trends since the last tier list that we did, because we've opened it to now about roughly 30 decks versus the 10 that we got in at the end of last season. And then additionally, my friends, I'm going to equip you with 3 fun decks here that I really enjoyed this past month. So looking forward to that. Now, again, appreciate everyone tuning in and excited about today. Flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video. If you have questions, if you have comments, let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you, or feel free to hop in the Discord server, my friends. That's in the details. And while you're there, other great ways to support the channel. Thank you to all the patrons. Thank you to all the YouTube members, as always. Much appreciated. Now, quickly, one quick update. I did finish surgery yesterday. I'm hobbling around, very happy with the outcome. We've got a lot going on in my family here, and very fortunate that it went well. So now, while you're here, I know you've came for the tier list today. For those of you that are new, those of you that are returning, it is a stack ranked system where I do a tier 1, 2, and 3. We keep it kind of bell curvy because that's how we like to do it. And very important information, most of the best of one is derived purely from the statistics that we get, primarily from Untapped. That information is down below. And best of 3 is a combination of those statistics, and then obviously a lot of top tournament play to help us place things, because there is some differences there. Now, stack ranking is the best deck in terms of beating the rest of the meta, and where it fits in against the other decks in the list, my friends. So without further ado, excited to give you our tier list here today. Again, if you have questions, if you have comments, please let me know. Always happy to help. So here's what we got going on for best of one. Again, as I mentioned, this is primarily, I'm going to move my face over here. This is primarily driven by statistics coming out of Untapped and some other things as well. But here's what we got going on for May this season. For our Strixhaven standard, we have Mono White Life Gain at the number 1 spot, Boros Winata at the number 2, Jeskai Cycling at 3, Mono Red Snow Aggro, followed by Mono White Snow Aggro, and Dimmer Lurrus Rogues taking up our tier list number 1 space. Then when we get into tier 2, we got another 15 decks here. We have Mono Black Auras still performing very well from Kaldheim. We have our Is It Dragons. We have Gruul Adventures, Magda Gruul, Temur Adventures, Naya Winata, Mono Green Stompy, Sultai Ultimatum, Esper Yorion Doom, Naya Gigantha Tokens, Sultai Yorion Control, Sultai Titan's Nest, Dimmer Yorion Control, Temur Luca, Esper Control. Then closing out our tier 3, we have Azorius Magecraft, Orzhov Magecraft, Is It Zerta Spells, Jund Magecraft, Big Red, Mono White Enchantments, Azorius Blink, Jeskai Transmogrify, and Mono Black Life Gain. So a lot of the fun decks happen to be tier 3, but that's kind of how it goes, and very fun nonetheless. So this is what we have happening for tier list best of one here for a standard season. We'll talk about some of those key observations in a minute. So now on to our best of 3 tier list, because I know many of you like to see this as well. So in tier 1, we have Mono White Snow Aggro, we have Mono Red Snow Aggro, we have Dimmer Lurrus Rogues, Jeskai Cycle, Naya Gigantha Tokens, and Boros Winata. So again, very tight clustering. Then we have Gruul Adventures, Sultai Ultimatum, Is It Dragons, Magda Gruul, Temur Adventures, Temur Luca, Naya Winata, Sultai Yorion Control, Dimmer Yorion Control, Esper Yorion Doom, Mono Green Stompy, Sultai Titan's Nest, Mono White Life Gain, Azorius Blink, Big Red, Is It Zerta Spells, Esper Control, Mono White Enchantments, Jeskai Transmogrify, Mono Black Auras. That one should be like this. Then we have Azorius Magecraft, Orzhov Magecraft, Jund Magecraft, and Mono Black Life Gain again. So really having fun here. We see that both the best of one and best of 3 is pretty tight. We got a little bit more movement in the tier 2 space, but again, still pretty similar in terms of what's going on. We'll talk about that here in a minute, my friends. So those are the tier lists for you. All this information is available to you down below in the description. You have access to it right away. Additionally, you can check out my article where I have all this stuff linked for you too. Then we got helpful videos on all the decks, so you can check it out. We break it down for you in both best of 1 and best of 3, my friends. So that is the tier list for you. I wish you the best with that information, on top of always knowing what's in the meta. And we will have our Friday night meta weekly episode tomorrow, which is one of the reasons why I did not run that at the beginning of this tier list for you, because you can get that relevant information on a weekly basis. All right, so the next portion that I do want to cover here is some of the key observations and trends, and I'll keep on the tier list now for you because it's pretty prominent nonetheless. So one of the big things I did talk about was the tournaments versus arena. So this has been a very hard tier list for me. Many of you are going to be asking about, is it dragons? You're going to be asking about things like Salted Ultimatum. Why aren't they tier 1? The reality is there's still quite a bit of a dichotomy to some extent this season between arena and some of the tournaments. We've seen, for instance, in best of 3, we've seen, for instance, Mono White Snow Aggro doing really well recently in some of the tournaments. We saw Is It Dragons do great. We saw the huge uptick last week, which you can check out in the weekly series as well. But overall, the win rates are still higher on a lot of these other tier 1 decks. And again, that's also a trend over time. It's not just that snapshot. The weekly snapshot focuses more on kind of the top 8, where things are as the meta is moving around fast. And the tier list is more an overtime trend, which is also important for us to recognize in and of itself on how these decks play against the meta as it changes, evolves, and what those win rates look like as well. So that's a key point that I wanted to call out. And it certainly isn't always the case. But here right now we do see kind of some of these differences. The other thing is the cooling off of the mechanics from Strixhaven. So most of our cool new fun stuff, the Magecraft decks, aren't doing as well. A lot of those win rates are not as good. The Golgari stuff that we've seen, both Witherbloom and Pest, which I have not run yet here in particular, haven't been as competitive as initially was thought. Then we've moved on to more of a mid-range cycle. So even though you see a lot of these aggressive decks up here, we see the Boros Venata, we see the Giganta, Jeskai cycling's really been coming back because of Is It Dragons type stuff. It's a great play around. But then again, we still have Is It Dragons here. We got the Gruul Adventures stuff. Really starting to dominate more of a mid-range type cycle. Salted Ultimatum obviously still around, and many of these other decks in this space, Teamer Adventures, Teamer Luca, Naya Winata, kind of following into that mid-range space. So that's a big thing to pay attention to. And again, we see that a little bit more in our Friday Night Magic episode. Now we're still missing some of that late game stuff. Really, we got the Salted Ultimatum, but some of the cool new ones that we've done this past month, or certainly the Azorius Blink that you can find in the channel and so forth. To build off that, we do have a continuation of most of the month's top end stuff from last month. They're still top here again, minus the Magecraft stuff really changing up and pulling down to the bottom. One of the other things that I like to say for this month is it's always good to have fun, no need to always zoom. And some of the other decks that I had a blast with were big red. So I love seeing this one come back. We had a lot of fun with Crackling, and I definitely recommend that you check that one out. Next, one last piece that I did want to talk about. We still continue to see the pull through from Kaldheim. There's one of the reasons why I include that in the article and also like to talk about it. We have in best of 1 the mono black enchantments or black auras doing really well still. And then on top of that, we got the mono green stompy list, which certainly has but still continues to perform well by Rumpty and Rint. Both not including really anything new from Strixhaven. So those are all big things and important things that I did want to call out because I certainly believe those observations and trends will continue to be impacted like we talk about. And additionally here, we have at least a whole other month of good old Strixhaven. So it's good to see all these decks, and we'll certainly continue to pull out top decks for you. Maybe we'll get this list to probably 50 plus next month when we get there. So lots of things for you to be playing and checking out. Would love to hear your feedback on that as well. So Planeswalkers, we talked about both the best of 1 tier list and the best of 3 tier list. We cover some key observations. Now I want to go ahead and dive into some of these decks for you and leave you with some fun stuff here for the season. as we kind of close out and get close to the end of this month. I wish you all the best of luck in the top 1500 and trying to hit that MQ, as well as making it into Mythic. So with that, we got 3 key decks I'd like to cover today. We got Big Red, we got Is It Dragons, and Mono White Aggro. So we'll start with Mono White Aggro. So this particular version was by Angry Panda. Angry Panda took up the challenge in the Discord server, so feel free to join us in there. My favorite thing is it does run Shadow Spear in his version, which is pretty awesome. So with that said, we've certainly seen a pretty big comeback. I've said keep an eye on this deck. This version was top 1500. I think he almost hit top 1000 with the deck list here. A very, very viable one. I love Shadow Spear, like I said. Mirror Match, it works great, helps you against mono white aggro, and it also helps you against a lot of other things that you might run into that have indestructible, or if they're going to pop off hexproof. Timing can be an issue, but just remember that. So again, feel free to hop in the Discord server, share your deck list. Love to see that as you hit Mythic, particularly if you hit 1500, but as the season progresses, always open to gain your takes if we haven't covered your deck. All right, so again, mono white aggro, certainly should check this out. Next, we have Is It Dragons. So this Is It Dragons version is from Seth Manfield, from the lovely Strixhaven MPL tournament, after the sad news of Pro League kind of going away. But hopefully we'll open up opportunities for everyone else, so that we'll leave it at that. No comments personally on any of that stuff. But with that said, obviously in the last week, as we mentioned on the Friday Night Meta episode, huge spike in the list. Lots of debate on Magma Opus. The reality is this card doesn't give you the power that you might think in terms of win rates, but certainly a nice top-end card nonetheless, my friends. So a fun one to check out. It's been spiking. It's been played a lot. And again, we mentioned that rise in kind of the Jeskai cycling decks or the cycling decks just because of this deck, because you can play around it and do so much with that. That makes it really viable and something important as well. But again, this is what we're here for, is it Dragons, or also is it mid-range. Next, last but not least, my friends, we have Big Red. So Big Red here was a very popular deck, has been for a while. It's picked up some new stuff in Kaldheim. We've got Seize the Spoils. With Strixhaven, we got Spell Satchel, which is awesome. We got Crackle with Power, which is absolutely a powerhouse of a card. And a lot of other ways to cheat good old Uganin and get to the top end fast. We also have Magma Opus in this one, if we need it. Fun top end card as well. But the goal, this one was by the Oven, so Oven graciously commented on the video, so feel free to go check that out. But your whole point is to get to Ugin the Spirit Dragon as fast as possible. So very cool here. A lot of fun in terms of this deck. I really enjoy it, and love playing it before as well. So I hope you do as much as I do. So that is what we have going on with today's decks and today's tier list. So just going to close out with a couple of final thoughts here, my friends. First off, as always, truly thankful, appreciate the community and your support. Feel free to flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video. Other great ways to support the channel down below in the description. You have access to all this information down there. I've got articles for you. I got lots of detailed videos for you, gameplay, breaking things down on sideboarding, all those kinds of guides for you at a pace at which you can keep up and digest the information. So thank you as always. Gave a nice little personal update, so thank you to everyone for supporting me through this. Again, surgery went well, and excited to get back at it here. And the biggest one is to get back to my Tuesday, Thursday schedule on Twitch. I owe some makeups to everyone, but please feel free to check that out. I love interacting with you. I love hearing from you and seeing what you're up to as well. And it's a great way for us to get some friendly banter, or feel free to hop in the Discord server like I've mentioned. So all that information is available to you to connect down below in the description. Again, if you got questions or comments, let me know. Just to close it all out here, we've seen a lot of changes over the past month. A lot of it still kind of staying the same. I know many of you have already talked about ready to get into our lovely new Forgotten Realms or whatever it is with the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I'm equally excited. We got a lot of cool things going on. The world, at least some parts of the world, are starting to hopefully become a little bit safer. I truly wish you the best and stay safe, my friends. Yeah, hopefully one of these days we can get back together and play more in person. I do miss that. I have quite the collection that I've been moving as I'm trying to sell my house and get into a new place. But anyway, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed and gals enjoyed this month's session and tier list. Stick around for the weekly meta stuff that will be coming up tomorrow. Lots of fun charts, lots of fun data for you there. Top list coming your way and tier lists. And we have done and covered the historic tier list. I highly recommend that to check that out. So Planeswalkers, with that said, stay safe. Until next time, we'll see you again soon. Mithras out, and looking forward to seeing you around more. Take care, my friends.